Hi fellas. Thanks for your support. Welcome to Movie Narrator channel. Today we are going to look at Titans colliding movie, Godzilla vs. Kong. Be ready to get excited. The year is 2024. 5 years have passed since Godzilla killed his extraterrestrial nemesis Ghidorah in 2019. While he and Kong are currently the only active Titans on Earth. On Skull Island, its climate has become unstable due to a storm generated by Ghidorah combining with the storm cell perpetually surrounding the island, forcing Monarch to contain Kong inside a dome-shaped facility that simulated the island's environment, with an orphan named Ji, who is deaf and can communicate with Kong via sign language, providing him company. However, Kong found out about the biodome and immediately threw a tree at it. Meanwhile, Bernie Hayes, an employee of the Apex Cybernetics Corporation and host of a Titan conspiracy theory podcast known as the Titan Truth Podcast, exfiltrates information suggesting sinister activities at a Pensacola Apex facility. But Godzilla suddenly arrives and attacks. During Godzilla's rampage, Bernie discovers a strange piece of technology resembling a giant robotic eye among the ruins of the facility. In the aftermath of the attack, public opinion has turned against Godzilla, who is no longer viewed as humanity's savior. A grown-up Madison Russell, now a fan of Bernie's podcast, sees the news about Godzilla's recent attack and is worried. She tries to convince her widowed father Mark, acting as Monarch's director, that Godzilla is being provoked. But Mark dismisses his daughter's belief in the Titan Truth podcast and only replies that creatures just like people can change. Later, Madison enlists the help of her friend Josh Valentine to investigate the one behind Godzilla's rampage and figure out the secrets of Apex. At the same time, Apex's founder and CEO Walter Simmons recruits Nathan Lind, a former Monarch scientist turned Hollow Earth theorist, to help guide them to the Hollow Earth, an underground world below the Earth and the hidden home to the Titans. In search of a powerful energy source, Nathan is initially hesitant since his brother tried to explore the Hollow Earth, but a strong anti-gravity field inside the tunnel killed him. He agrees after Walter reveals that Apex has developed Hollow Earth aerial vehicles, specialized crafts to withstand the gravity field's pressure. To help guide them to the Hollow Earth, Nathan travels to Skull Island and meets Monarch anthropological linguist and Gia's adoptive mother Eileen Andrews with his idea of using Kong as their navigator to lead them to the energy source since Skull Island is no longer able to contain him and allow him to survive, since Kong has grown too large. Though Eileen rejects this at first as she explains that Godzilla would come for Kong as soon as he was moved off of Skull Island, she finally accepts after Nathan convinced her that they need to undertake this mission in order to stop Godzilla and that they can also find Kong a new home. Nathan, Eileen, Gia, and an Apex team led by Walter's daughter Maya board a modified barge with Kong chained and lightly sedated. One rainy night, an agitated Kong starts to pull on the chains restraining him. Though Gia calms him down by allowing her and Kong to touch fingers in solidarity before Kong signs the word home, much to everybody's amazement. The next day, Eileen explains to Nathan on how she raised Gia as her adoptive daughter after dangerous and unpredictable storms wiped out most of the and her parents. But Gia herself was the sole survivor since Kong was the one who protected her, leading to the two forming a bond and kinship. At this point, Jia senses Godzilla, who arrives and suddenly attacks the military before capsizing the barge, nearly drowning Kong as well as the others inside. Fortunately, Nathan manages to unlock Kong's chains, allowing him to battle Godzilla long enough to swim to the surface and flip the barge back on its head, saving the group from drowning. Kong leaps onto a nearby aircraft carrier to challenge Godzilla, who climbs aboard to face Kong. The two titans land blows on each other before fighter jets distract Godzilla enough for Kong to push him back into the ocean. Godzilla fires his atomic breath from beneath, but Kong manages to leap off to evade the blast. However, Godzilla wraps his tail around Kong and drags him into the depths of the ocean, only for their fight to break up when Godzilla is disoriented by depth charges, giving Kong the opportunity to surface for air and passes out. Seeing no other option, Nathan decides that the group should instead shut down the ship's power to trick Godzilla into thinking he destroyed them and Kong was defeated, which succeeds. Godzilla observes the destroyed fleet as if seemingly satisfied that he has won, swims away, realizing that Godzilla could return if they reactivate the ships. They change plans and instead fly Kong to a hollow Earth entry point in Antarctica where Ghidorah was originally frozen. There, Kong refuses to go even with Jia's insistence. Instead, Nathan and Eileen suggest telling Jia that they trick Kong into thinking that his kind could possibly be down there, prompting him to enter the tunnel, and the teams follow him in the HEAVs. Meanwhile, Madison and Josh find Bernie, who joins their investigation as they believe Apex had something to do with Godzilla's change in behavior. Together, they sneak into the wrecked Apex base, only to find that the eye Bernie had described is now gone, as they discover a secret facility deep underground. The group are inadvertently locked and transported in an anti-gravity transport vehicle, carrying skull-crawler eggs through an underground tunnel to Hong Kong. There, they unwittingly intrude on a test of Mechagodzilla, a robotic counterpart of Godzilla piloted by the late Dr. Ishiro Serizawa's son Ren Serizawa, who sits inside the skull of Ghidorah's left head, which has been retrieved by Apex and converted into a living supercomputer and neural interface used to control the robot after it was previously bitten off by Godzilla and acquired by Alan Jonah 5 years ago. Mechagodzilla was used in a test to kill a large skull crawler code-named Number 10 by slicing it in half using its proton scream while Madison, Josh and Bernie seek shelter in a bunker. But the test is however cut short due to limitations of the power supply. It is then revealed that Walter intends to harness the power of the Hollow Earth's energy to overcome Mechagodzilla's limitations. Madison then realizes that Mechagodzilla is the reason why Godzilla attacked Pensacola in the first place. Apex is trying to dispose of him and all the Titans so that humanity can become the dominant species. Inside the Hollow Earth, Nathan's team find an ecosystem similar to Skull Island. While traversing the landscape, they are attacked by a pair of snake-like warbots. But Kong manages to kill both of them before feasting on one by eating its innards. After the fight, Kong and Nathan's team make their way to an ancestral throne room belonging to Kong's species, where they find remains of an ancient war with Godzilla's kind while Kong notices a glowing axe made from a dismembered dorsal plate of another member of Godzilla's race. As Nathan's team discover the power source they need to increase Mechagodzilla's power supply, Kong learns that the same power source can recharge the axe. However, Maya and the Apex team use drones to send the power source's signature back to their Hong Kong base. Despite Eileen's protests, prompting Maya and her guards to aim their guns at Nathan's team, only for Kong to angrily roar at them in defense of Jie. Meanwhile, Mechagodzilla begins sending a signal to Godzilla, who senses the machine's activation and heads straight towards Hong Kong. There, Godzilla makes landfall and sensing Kong in the hollow earth, drills a shaft to the throne room with his atomic breath, causing the temple to collapse. Kong avoids Godzilla's atomic breath and fights off a flock of Hellhawks while Maya and her team try to abandon Nathan's team and escape, only for Kong to crush their HEAV on their way out, killing Maya and her personnel inside. Kong, Eileen, Jie, and Nathan escape through the hole to Hong Kong, where Kong confronts Godzilla and fights him again, at one point gaining the upper hand, this time by shoving the handle of his axe down Godzilla's throat to stop him firing his atomic breath. Kong sees that his axe can not only block Godzilla's atomic breath, but can also absorb it, and injures the Titan in the leg with his weapon, though Godzilla is unscathed and throws the axe away. After evading and dodging Godzilla's attacks, Kong retrieves his axe before bringing down his now charged up weapon down on Godzilla, creating an explosion that knocks both Titans back. But Kong loses his axe in the process, leaving him vulnerable without his weapon. Godzilla recovers and goes looking for Kong, who is hiding from Godzilla by perching himself on a building. To distract Godzilla, Kong throws a crane into another building to the point he attacks Godzilla from behind, only for the Titan to this time regain the upper hand against Kong, dislocating his left arm and stomping on his chest twice before roaring in Kong's face to submit. However, Kong responds by roaring back at Godzilla in defiance, showing that he refuses to submit. As if impressed by this show of defiance and bravery, Godzilla spares his opponent's life and walks away as Kong loses consciousness. Back in the Apex base, Walter orders Ren to send out Mechagodzilla to kill Godzilla, though Ren warns him against using the new Hollow Earth energy source without testing. But Walter ignores his pleas and orders Ren to activate the mecha. At the same time, Bernie, Madison, and Josh are caught by security for infiltrating Apex headquarters and are taken to Walter. Madison accuses Walter of provoking Godzilla into war and for causing all of this, though he confidently explains that he accepted the responsibility for giving mankind a chance to fight back against Godzilla and the Titans. Unknown to Walter as he monologues about his creation, Mechagodzilla suddenly goes haywire under the influence of both the energy source and Ghidorah's neural networks, resulting in Mechagodzilla killing Walter with a swipe of its hand and Ren's death by electrocution. Mechagodzilla, now possessed by Ghidorah's consciousness, emerges from the Victoria Peaks base and rampages through the city before Godzilla confronts it. Quickly coming into contact with Godzilla, Mechagodzilla assails its organic counterpart with missiles before the two begin their battle. While Josh unsuccessfully tries to shut down the rampaging robot remotely, Godzilla and Mechagodzilla battle, at one point engaging in a beam lock by firing both their energy beams at each other, which lock together, only for Mechagodzilla to gain the upper hand, knocking Godzilla over and badly burning him. While Mechagodzilla continues to overwhelm Godzilla, Nathan, Eileen, and Jia approach an unconscious Kong, where Jia senses that his heartbeat is slowing down. prompting Nathan to use the remaining HEAV as a defibrillator to revive Kong, detonating it and saving him. After Kong awakens, Jia convinces him that Godzilla is not the enemy, though Kong has no interest and refuses to believe her at first until she shows him Mechagodzilla and tells Kong that this is the real enemy, prompting the Titan to reset his dislocated arm and head into battle. As Mechagodzilla prepares to fire its proton scream down Godzilla's throat, Kong leaps onto the robot and redirects the beam into the air, saving Godzilla's life in the process. Realizing that Kong saved his life and having found a new ally, Godzilla helps Kong fight against Mechagodzilla. But the robot proves to be stronger than their combined might and overpowers the two titans. Seeing his axe among the wreckage, Kong reclaims it. But his weapon is ineffective against Mechagodzilla, who attempts to fatally impale Kong with its tail drill. However, Josh short-circuits Mechagodzilla's controls by pouring Bernie's flask of liquor all over the control panel, making Mechagodzilla momentarily stall and allowing Godzilla and Kong to recover and gain the upper hand. Seeing Kong holding his axe, Godzilla supercharges it by blasting the weapon with his atomic breath, allowing Kong to slice off Mechagodzilla's limbs and finishes off the mecha by tearing off its head. After roaring triumphantly, an exhausted and battered Kong slumps down to rest. In the aftermath, Nathan, Eileen and Jia sit together among the debris while Madison reunites with Mark and introduces him to Josh and Bernie, who asks Mark if he can invite him on his podcast sometime. Suddenly, their moment is interrupted by the roar of Godzilla, who approaches Kong. Kong grabs his axe and prepares to resume fighting his rival again. But Godzilla instead shows no interest in fighting anymore and merely stares Kong down. In response, Kong lets his axe fall to the ground, ending the many millenniums of conflict between his and Godzilla's race. Now that they are no longer rivals, Godzilla and Kong acknowledge each other as equals and allies before Godzilla returns to the sea and disappears as Kong and the gathered humans watch on. Later, Monarch have created an observation post in the Hollow Earth. Eileen, Nathan and Jia watch as Kong passes by on his morning walk. After assigning home to Jia, Kong beats his chest and bellows, proclaiming himself as the king of the Hollow Earth and accepting it as his new home and kingdom. Fellas, hope you enjoyed this movie. If you like this video, please like and share to your friends. Also subscribe to Movie Narrator channel for more movies.